Love is often portrayed as a pure, selfless emotion, a sanctuary where two people surrender completely to each other. But if you've lived long enough, you know that's only part of the truth. The other part people rarely talk about is that love, like politics, is also a negotiation of power. Who decides where we live? Who sets the pace of the relationship? Who compromises more? And when conflict arises, who bends? And who makes the other bend? This is the hidden undercurrent in every romantic relationship: influence. Niccolo Machiavelli, the Florentine diplomat, often painted as the master of manipulation, never sat down to write about dating. His work, The Prince, was meant for rulers. But here's the secret: Machiavelli's insights into human nature. Apply anywhere, human nature shows up, and that includes the most intimate battlefield of all: love. Because no matter how tender or poetic our feelings, we are still human beings, creatures driven by needs, desires, fears, and ambitions. And in relationships, just as in kingdoms, those forces collide. When they do, we find ourselves in what I call a power struggle situation, where neither partner wants to be the one at the mercy of the other. One might push for more attention, while the other holds it back. One might demand commitment, while the other demands freedom. Some people lose these struggles without even realizing the game is being played. Others win effortlessly because they understand the psychology behind influence. Machiavelli understood it better than almost anyone. In this video, we'll explore Machiavelli's 3 rules for winning a power struggle in love. Rule 1 will shatter the way you think about honesty. Rule 2 will reveal why patience is more powerful than passion. Rule 3 will feel almost dangerous, but that's precisely why it works. And when we're done, you'll not only see relationships differently, you'll see yourself differently. Rule 1, control the truth. Don't they just tell it? In politics, Niccolo Machiavelli famously wrote, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise." To modern ears, this sounds cold, almost ruthless. But in reality, Machiavelli was not telling leaders to lie for sport. He was pointing to a deeper, unsettling truth. Truth itself is never neutral. It is not some innocent stream that flows freely from your lips. It is a tool, a weapon, a currency. It can build trust, yes, but it can also dismantle your defenses if handed over without caution. In love, we often hear people pride themselves on being brutally honest. They say, "I have nothing to hide. I always speak my mind." It sounds noble, it feels virtuous, but here's the trap: raw honesty, when unfiltered and unmeasured, can destroy your influence faster than any lie could. Why? Because the moment you pour every detail of your inner life onto the tableau, your fears, your weaknesses, your boundaries, your deepest desires, you are not merely sharing your heart. You are handing someone a blueprint to your emotional fortress. And in the wrong hands, that blueprint is not an invitation for intimacy, it's an invitation for conquest. Think about it. When you tell someone exactly what scares you, you have given them the keys to trigger you. When you tell them your exact limits, you've shown them where to push. When you confess your absolute dependence on them, you've surrendered the high ground entirely. Machiavelli would not tell you to live as a liar. He would not say that love should be built on deception. But he would say this: truth must be managed like a precious resource. You do not spill it all at once. You release it strategically when the timing serves your position. Consider the art of diplomacy. When two rival nations sit across from each other to negotiate a treaty, they do not arrive carrying a suitcase of every classified plan, every military secret, every vulnerability. They reveal only enough to serve the goal at hand. If one side exposed everything, the negotiation would be over before it began. In love, the same principle quietly applies. Let's make it personal. Imagine your partner suddenly grows distant. They pull away, they answer your calls less. Your heart pounds, your mind spirals. The urge to beg for reassurance rises like a tide. "I can't live without you. Please don't leave me." But that sentence, however heartfelt, is a white flag. It shifts all the power into their hands. They now know that your world revolves entirely around them, and that knowledge, whether they intend to or not, changes the balance. Instead, you pause. You breathe. You resist the urge to spill everything. You say something measured: "I've noticed some distance. If you need space, take it." See the difference? You reveal awareness without revealing desperation. You acknowledge the shift without declaring emotional collapse. You send a subtle message. I am here, but I am not begging. My world does not vanish without you. The psychological principle at work here is simple but profound in any power struggle, whether in politics, business, or romance. Control over the flow of information is control over the pace and shape of the relationship. If they know every thought in your head and every fear in your chest, they can dictate the terms. But if they are unsure what you might do next, they must account for your unpredictability. They must engage you with more respect. This is why Machiavelli's advice is not truly about deception, it's about selective revelation. You are not morally bound to broadcast your every passing emotional state like a public announcement. Mystery is not the enemy of love. In fact, mystery can be the very thing that keeps attraction alive. Think of it like fire. Too little air and it goes out. Too much and it burns uncontrollably. The right balance keeps it alive. Relationships need oxygen, but they also need boundaries. They need space where curiosity can breathe. If you want to hold influence not through manipulation, but through self-possession, you must master the timing and dosage of truth. Share enough to build connection, but keep enough to protect your independence. Remember, you do not lose power by keeping part of yourself in reserve. You lose it by giving all of yourself away too soon. In the end, the most powerful truth you control is not the one you speak, it is the one you choose not to speak. At least, not yet. Rule to master the art of delay. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived." On the surface, this may sound like a cynical remark about human gullibility, but if you look deeper, it is really a warning about our most dangerous weakness, our obsession with the present moment. We are creatures of urgency. We feel an itch for instant closure, instant answers, instant resolution because the unknown makes us deeply uncomfortable. In love, this tendency becomes even more intense. When emotions are involved, people rarely want to sit with uncertainty. They want to know right now where you stand, how you feel, what your next move will be. And the more instantly you respond, the easier it becomes for them to read you, predict you, and if they choose manipulate you. Machiavelli's second rule for winning a power struggle, whether in politics or in diplomacy, is simple but deadly effective. Never be rushed. Delay is not weakness. Delay is a weapon. Politics. A ruler who acts too quickly is like a hunter who steps into a trap without realizing the ground beneath them is already giving way. Enemies often design situations that force quick action deadlines, crises, emergencies, not because those moments demand speed, but because they know speed kills judgment. In love, the same dynamic plays out in quieter, subtler ways. Your partner might provoke you with criticism, emotional withdrawal, or even an ultimatum. They might present you with a question they know will trigger your emotions, and then wait for your instant reaction. The moment you answer on impulse, you are no longer leading the dance, you are moving to their rhythm. Instead, the Machiavellian approach is to slow the game down until it's being played at your pace. You control the tempo, you set the rhythm. Example, your partner says, "If you don't decide by tonight whether you're moving in, I'll assume you're not committed." The average person's instinct is to panic. They'll scramble to give an answer, afraid that hesitation will be seen as a lack of love. In that fear, they surrender, control, but the Machiavellian move is to step out of their frame entirely. You might say, "This is important, and I won't decide under a deadline. Let's revisit this when we're both calm." Notice what happens in that moment. The power shifts. The ultimatum loses its grip. You've refused to play on their timetable, and by doing so, you've reminded them that you decide the pace of your own life. The psychology behind this is ruthless but true. Delay forces the other person to sit with uncertainty, and uncertainty is uncomfortable. It breeds curiosity, it breeds doubt, and perhaps most importantly, it breeds a subtle fear of loss. Even in love, that fear can be a powerful motivator. When someone doesn't know exactly where they stand with you, they begin to imagine losing you. That thought can pull them back toward you more effectively than any desperate reassurance ever could. Machiavelli understood that time itself is one of the most powerful weapons in human affairs. It is not just a neutral backdrop, it's a battlefield you can control. In romance, just as in statecraft, those who control the timing control the outcome. If you rush, you risk agreeing to something you don't truly want just to relieve the discomfort of the moment. If you wait, you give yourself space to think, to plan, and to choose not just what to do, but when to do it. And here's the paradox. When you stop giving instant answers, you often become more respected. People realize you are not at their beck and call. They sense that your approval, your commitment, your decisions are valuable and that they must be earned, not demanded. So in love as in politics, remember, the person who is least rushed holds the advantage. Every extra moment you take before responding is another moment in which you decide your fate on your own terms, not theirs. And that, Machiavelli would say, is how you turn time into an ally instead of an enemy. Rule 3's never fight on their battlefield. Perhaps Machiavelli's most crucial insight for matters of love can be traced back to his advice for rulers. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. But alongside this, he offered another warning, one that is just as relevant in relationships as it was in politics. Never fight where your enemy is strongest. In the brutal chessboard of Renaissance Italy, this meant avoiding military engagements on terrain chosen by your opponent. A smart ruler would never march his troops into a valley surrounded by enemy archers. Nor would he allow himself to be baited into a naval battle if his fleet was inferior. And while you might not be leading an army in love, the principle is the same. If you step onto the battlefield your partner has prepared, you are already halfway to defeat. In relationships, the battlefield is rarely a literal place, it's emotional ground. It's the tone, setting, and method of conflict that tilts the scales in someone's favor. Your partner might be a master of raising their voice until you shut down. They might be skilled at guilt tripping until you feel like you're the villain in a story you didn't write. Or perhaps they know that you hate prolonged silence, and so they withdraw, forcing you to break first just to escape the tension. These aren't accidents. People consciously or not fight on ground where they've trained the longest. The battlefield is familiar to them, and familiarity breeds power. If you accept the invitation to fight there, you will be reacting, not leading. You'll be dancing to their rhythm, following their rules, playing their game. And the moment you play their game, you lose control of your own strategy. The Machiavellian move. Change the arena. If they pick the time, change it. If they pick the place, move it. If they pick the tone, rewrite it. Let's say your partner tries to drag you into an argument over text. This is one of the most dangerous battlefields, Tonus. Easily misunderstood. Assumptions multiply, and they can launch emotional paragraphs while you sit, typing and deleting replies. Instead of fighting there, you simply respond, "I won't discuss this over text. Let's talk in person." It's a small sentence, but a devastating maneuver. Suddenly, they lose the advantage of crafting long, calculated messages. Now, they must confront you in a space where body language, tone, and timing are visible, where they cannot hide behind the written word. Or consider another example. They provoke you in public, knowing you will soften your words to avoid embarrassment. In that moment, you don't take the bait. You let the comment pass and say quietly, "We'll talk about this later privately." Now, you've shifted the battle to a setting where you feel more comfortable, more in control, and where there are no spectators to influence your reactions. The psychology behind this is simple yet profound. People build strategies around familiar battlefields. They anticipate your moves because they've seen them before in that environment. But when you refuse to fight where they expect you to, their well-rehearsed lines suddenly lose their timing. Their confidence dips, they hesitate, and in that hesitation, their power cracks. Changing the arena does not just protect you, it disorients them. It forces them to adapt in real time. And very few people fight well when they are improvising. This is why, in love as in war, you must never accept the battlefield handed to you. Choose your ground. Choose your timing. Choose your rules, because the one who chooses the battlefield is already halfway to victory.